Hi guys, welcome back. Welcome to Slender Films. This is going to be my first anime review. Going to be reviewing Fairytail today. One of my, I would say one of my favorites. I would say one of my favorite animes. Um, at the end of this, you might think I'm a hypocrite for saying that, just because there's just, there's just some things I'm not going to go easy on. Um, I know Fairytale is kind of controversial, so that's not why I chose to start with it. I really don't know why. I don't know. I just chose to start with Fairytale. There were a couple other good ones. I guess I didn't want to start right away with an anime that I knew I was going to give like a perfect score, because there are some animes that I am pretty sure I'm going to give pretty close, if not a perfect score. And then there are other animes that I know I'm just going to give like very low, very bad scores. It's all my opinion, right? My personal opinion, and it's just to start discussions. You disagree, you agree. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. But yeah, Fairytale, I know, so I'm already spoiling. Fairytale, the score I gave it was just somewhere in the middle, a little above that. I'll just tell you that much right now. We'll go through it. Um, and yeah, maybe that's why I wanted to start with one a little in the middle, just somewhere neutral to start the channel. And I do love Fairytale. I do love the anime. I really do. Um, I love certain aspects of it, and you know what? It's a love-hate relationship. I'll call it that. So let's just get into it. Um, the six topics: story, characters, voice acting, animation, music, and genre. So I'll put it. I've already put it through all those. I've already scored it. I already know what the score is. I already know all this is. Just had to find a way to walk through it, and I do want to walk through it in that order. I think I want to do that for every anime or movie that I review. So with Fairy Tail, I want to start in the story. Explaining the story is kind of confusing. First off, spoiler, major spoilers. I'm going to spoil the entire thing. So if you haven't seen Fairy Tail before, or if you're watching it and you haven't finished it, I go through it. Like, this video is going to be mentioning things that happen all throughout the series, and it's going to be spoiling everything, all the way up into the final season, critiquing all of it. So if you haven't seen it and you want to see it, go ahead and go watch it first, and watch reviews, watch this review. If you don't care about having it spoiled and you just want to, see if it's good or not, then okay, all right, I'm going to spoil everything for you. Um, and then give you my personal opinion on what I think about the content. So talking about the story, I thought I'd just read a plot that I found online let me see. The world of Earthland is home to numerous guilds where wizards apply their magic for paid requests. Natsu Dragneel, a dragon slayer wizard from the Fairytale Guild, explores the kingdom of Fiori in search of his missing adoptive father, the dragon Igneal. That's a pretty good, explanation of the plot. For those who don't know, I don't really want to get more in depth than that. I like the concept. It takes place, it's not supposed to be our world. They don't claim it's our world or our history, right? It's some fictional world, very medieval times, like at least the setting, that era, something out of Lord of the Rings. From what I understand, the writer was inspired. He loved Lord of the Rings, and he was inspired by that to write Fairy Tale, which I thought was pretty cool. I hope I got that right. And the story just takes place around some time like that, Middle Earth, and focuses like on wizards. So there's magic in the world. Everybody apparently has magic. Every human being has it inside them. They have magic, but those that can actually use it, like superpowers, those that are basically superheroes that can use it that way, are viewed highly as wizards. And there's two separate governments. There's a regular government, the king, his knights, the army that governs and protects and deals more with those regular humans. And still they'll still take care of the wizards. But there's a magic council that's like a secondary government that deals specifically with the wizards, and control, governing them and making specific laws for them and magic they can use and can't use. I loved all that in the writing. I thought that was pretty cool. I like that. It's similar to Black Clover, that anime, in the same way. It kind of had, there were kind of two governments. There were two kings, one for the powerful wizards, the not guilds, but they were called squads. And then there was another king that dealt more with the rest of the people who were just normal. Very similar to that. I can't tell if one copied the other because they're very similar. Um, I do look forward to reviewing Black Clover. I did finish that one and it was amazing. But with Fairytale, um, two governments, wizards, they form guilds. These individual guilds are in different cities. They have different names. You know, the main one the show focuses on, obviously, is Fairytale, where all our main characters are. They get requests from the government. Hey, there's a dark guild over here. There's some things over here to do. And if they don't have that to do for the government, they do take jobs from citizens. Hey, there's a monster on my farm attacking, my livestock or whatever. They'll go deal with it. They'll get paid. They'll take jobs like that. And that's kind of like the basis of like, okay, that's normal life in this anime. Okay, where's the big story? Where's the big villain? And that's where it gets deeper into saving the world, and the world is at risk. You find out there's this wizard going around called Zeref, um, supposed to be the most powerful wizard in the world. He's extremely dangerous. He keeps to himself. Um, Something about dragon slayer wizards. The main character is a dragon slayer wizard. They mention that. It gets you curious. What does that mean? He claims he's raised by a dragon. But when you look at the show, most of the characters are like, well, dragons aren't even around. And some people even question if they even existed because no one's seen a dragon. No one's seen a dragon in years. And so it's like hundreds of years. And so it's like we doubt if they were real or not. If they were, for some reason, history tells them that they were the most powerful creatures around. And we learn more about that too later on too. So I loved it when I first started watching it. It really like sucked me in with all that mystery. I really liked that. I loved it. I loved those concepts. I love those key elements. There's a powerful wizard somewhere wandering the earth, a dark wizard called Zeref. There's the main character claims he was raised by a dragon. Dragons are no longer around. They're the most powerful creatures. He claims to have this dragon's power. I was like, okay, that's how they're setting up the main character, making him strong. I love that. That was great. There's all these different wizards coming together in these guilds. He's one of them. He meets other dragon slayer wizards, and it was all, you know, it was all fine and dandy there, and it was just, um, that's about as much explanation as I'm gonna get for newcomers. For you to get like some basic concepts of the story. Now I just want to dive into things that fairy tale fans already know. I'm just gonna critique what's already there because that's where it was all fine, and then it kind of went downhill from there. Um, I'm kind of gonna go all over the place with it. I mean, if at first I can just start with character inconsistencies, specifically strength, um, the strength differences in characters and their powers, and that writing is terrible. That writing is awful. They don't care at all. Like they really didn't care. This anime is one of those animes that includes the power of friendship crap. I don't know what else to call it. I know there are a lot of people who hate that, and will completely dismiss it if they even hear it in an anime, and other people who love it. I understand that. I'm in the middle there. I don't like it. I'll be honest. I of course I don't like it, especially if it brings some unrealistic elements to the story, to the writing, and that annoys me. And I can't watch an anime and not it bugs me. And if I'm gonna review it, if I'm gonna score it, I'm taking off points for that. I can't if it's gonna bring some unrealistic elements to it, then yeah, I'm taking off points for that. Um, I want to be clear when it comes to the whole power of friendship thing that they do in anime. Um, I am not against somebody having an adrenaline rush. I am not against that. I'm not against somebody, the hero getting hurt, stabbed, and on the ground, stabbed. I'm sorry, just hurt, beat up, whatever. Well, you stab, whatever. Like they're on the ground, they're bleeding, and they're thinking like, I cannot move another muscle. I can't get up. I can't do anything. Like I'm out. Like I wish I could keep fighting this guy, and but I know I have to, but I can't get up. And then they see their friend or family member in the distance, and they get hurt or they get killed, and they get back up on their feet and they start fighting again. I don't look at that and say, oh, there's that power of friendship crap. There's that, I hate that. No, that's real. Like, we do have, it's mental. Like, there's crazy stories, and we've all experienced that in our life, where you can hear of a shocking situation, or, I mean, you're out jogging and well, you haven't been in the situation hopefully, but let's say someone's jogging and you've been sprinting, you've been jogging back and forth, you've been exercising like that, and you're just like, I can't move fast at all. I'm down to walking now. Like, you're just thinking like, there's no way I could run right now, no way at all. And you turn around and somebody's chasing you, and it's the middle of night. Maybe somebody starts chasing you. What are you gonna do? You're going to start running, and there's going to be some strength that you get that you didn't know you had. And it's all mental, right? We can do more than we think we can. There's a lot of truth to that. It's not an unrealistic magical thing that happens. It's psychological. It is, science. There is some science to it. There's some adrenaline you can unlock by thinking the right things and by having the right motivation. I'm all for an anime doing that. But this power of friendship thing that I'm talking about, that Fairytale does, that a lot of anime does, it's not that. It's not so much an adrenaline rush. It's not so much. It really is. Hey, my magic spell was supposed to create this force field that your spell isn't supposed to affect by magical law. I'm just giving an example, and they break through it anyway. And it's like, how did you do this? Because I have friends. Fairy Tale does that all the time, and I hate it. It would make sense if it's like, your power isn't strong enough to break my shield, and then they see a friend get hurt, or they find out their friends are in danger, and then they break through because they got angry. And I'm fine with saying their magic is linked to their physical strength and their adrenaline. I'm fine with that, but they don't really do that. It more has to do with breaking laws of magic and breaking physics and it's like, how is that happening? Oh, because you have friends, it's happening. Yeah, I'm taking all points for that. Like, I can't deal with that. It just, no. Like, I won't deal with that. I don't want to talk too much more on it. Just, you watch it, you're gonna see that. Um, they don't even have to see their friends in peril. Like, it's crazy. Like, they literally, time and time again, they just have to kind of remember, like, I have friends, and then they beat somebody. Rarely do they really show, like, a friend get hurt or stabbed or even die in front of their eyes and then get that adrenaline. They don't show that. They more just show them remember, like, I'm fighting for my friends. Like, my goodness, they could win every single fight if they just did that, instead of waiting for the final boss fight to think that way and make it hard on themselves, the journey to get there. They could have beat everyone along the way if they just thought that way, apparently. But I'll try not to talk about that anymore. Um, I mean, still talking about character strength and consistencies, I'm just gonna skip to the final season. Uh, Fairy Tail's final season, one of my favorite characters is Acnologia. I love his design. I love how he looks as a dragon. He's, incredibly scary looking, has that killer whale look to him, like Shamu. It looks like the false eye on a killer whale. It looks really scary. And I've seen some 3D images, some animation people made of like what he would look like in real life. Like, they created a live action version of him. These pictures look scary. Like, if you saw this thing in the sky, Acnologia is very well drawn. I love the way he looks. Um, I love his voice actor in, English, Japanese, and I love the character overall. I thought it was an amazing character. I love the story of how he becomes the strongest dragon, and how he wiped out all the other dragons, like, well, a lot of dragons. Sorry, um, explaining where all the dragons went. They had a war with each other that wiped out a lot of their numbers. They eventually gave their power to humans, which made them dragon slayer wizards, which made them have the strength of a dragon. I mean, that's what the story tells us. These people who received power from dragons, that affected them. They would eventually turn into dragons, which I think is when they got the full strength of a dragon, is just them turning into a dragon. Okay, so that's how humans helped join the dragon war. There were bad dragons who said, um, humans are nothing, they're just food to us, we can eat and kill them whenever we want. And there were good dragons who said, no, they're intelligent creatures just like us, they have civilization, like we shouldn't do that, we should be, we should have peace with them. And so the dragons started a war with each other, and then the good dragons were losing, and so they did something unthinkable. They went to the humans and they said, we need your help, and they gave them a portion of their power that would grow inside of them. It actually turned them into dragons. And the humans, with this power, turned on the good dragons, started killing them once they helped finish off the bad. Now they started hunting down the rest of them. And then Acnologia shows up, this powerful dragon, who the dark wizard Zareth helped him grow into the powerful dragon he was, helped him and made him into a strong, powerful creature, more than he already was. And then he wipes out the rest of the dragons. Those that were formerly humans, those that were dragons all along, he wipes them all out, right? He's this powerful dragon. He's more powerful than all the other dragons. He took on multiple full-strength dragons at once, hundreds if not thousands of them. So this is Acnologia. This is the little story of him. This is what he can do. This is how powerful he is, right? And yet, at the end of the show, spoiler, final season, he's the final villain. He gets beaten by who? He gets beaten by, was it 5 or 6 Dragon Slayers? He gets beaten by these Loxus, Sting, Rogue, Natsu, Windy. That's upsetting. And Eric, I think his name was Eric, the guy from the Oracion Sace. So he gets beaten by these. Some of these aren't even real Dragon Slayers. That upsets me. That's bad. These are some Dragon Slayers that throughout the entire show were struggling constantly with human wizards. They were struggling. They couldn't beat them. They couldn't beat these human wizards. They were struggling with them. They're not full-strength dragons. They were raised by dragons. They were given the power. But in the story, their dragon parents gave them antibodies. They used this ancient spell they created, and they put that inside of their adopted human children so that they wouldn't eventually turn into dragons. Well, that basically means they're never going to reach the full strength of a dragon. And that's evident because whenever they fight human wizards, they don't always win right away, and they face some powerful human wizards and they lose a lot and they struggle to win. In the final season, they're struggling to win battles with human wizards. Yes, they're powerful wizards that Zareth trained himself and gave them magic, but they should still, after all these years and seasons and their dragons slowly gaining a strength, of course they're not going to reach the top because their parents gave them those antibodies, but still, they should, they're not full-strength dragons. They're not. And a couple of these aren't even real dragon slayers. Loxus and Eric, they weren't real dragon slayers. They were fake dragon slayers. So they're just human wizards. They're powerful, but they're just human wizards. They're nothing to Acnologia. Nothing to him at all. Right? Acnologia, the all-powerful villain of Fairytail, the most powerful villain there is in the show, the one who slayed thousands of full-strength dragons. We even have, in the show, they show us that he took on multiple dragons at once. They didn't just line up one at a time. He took out multiple dragons at once. And these 5 dragon slayers, not at full strength, they beat him. Okay, it's worse than that. It's worse than that. You know what? No, I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into that because that's another topic. But they beat him. It doesn't matter how they beat him. I don't care. I know some people are going to... I do care, right? I want to discuss this with anybody who wants to discuss it. But how they beat him, I know what they're trying to do there. How they beat him, they're trying to say, well, they combined their powers. They all shot their powers into the main character. They all put their hands up and they shot their power into his body, and then he had all their power combined. I still don't think... It doesn't make sense, and it's poorly written, and I want to talk about that later because that's another part of the story I'm taking points off for. But just character strength and consistencies. It doesn't make any sense. The show tries to tell us a dragon is this strong, a human is this strong, okay? Is this strong? And then, okay, well, when you reach this full strength of dragon, you turn into one. Acnologia is up here, and the humans are all the way down here. Okay, here are 5 humans. Here's Acnologia. They're not as strong as full-strength dragons. They've been fighting a bunch of human wizards and they're exhausted through the final season. They're very weak. Actilogia has done nothing, really nothing at all. He should be at full strength, and they beat him, and it's just, it doesn't make any sense. It's the power of friendship, I guess. I don't know, but it loses a point for that, so it gets dropped to 9. There's character powers inconsistency. I wrote that down. Just, there's certain abilities, certain magic that certain wizards have in Fairy Tale that I feel is just poorly written. I feel like it's just, why did you do that? It doesn't make sense. You could have written that a little better. You could have added like some kind of safeguard to that, because some of it is just overpowered. Some of it is just like, you could end the entire thing right now. You could beat everybody. There's Brandish. Um, Brandish has the power to grow anything. A whole country. She can shrink to, just this big. And that's what they said. And that she could increase it back into its normal size. With a person, she could increase the head until it explodes. She could increase an organ in your body until it explodes just by looking at you. Supposedly she can do this, but she doesn't do it to any of the characters she goes up against. She doesn't kill them instantly. She doesn't, and there might be the argument of, well, she doesn't want to. She's been good all along, because she does get turned. But, I don't find that consistent either. She was willing to kill Lucy. She was willing to kill Lucy. She didn't do it. She was stopped from doing that. So she is willing to kill. She is willing to do that. It's pretty obvious she would have. And so I don't see that. Also, Zareth trained her. Zareth is supposed to be this wise, smart, meticulous character. He trained her. He knows her power. He knows what she can do. I'm certain he should have known that she had this tendency to not want to kill people. Like, okay, she has a power that can ultimately end a lot of things for us very easily. I need to use her, but she's not willing. I'm pretty sure Zareth or one of the Spriggan 12 could have had some mind-controlling ability to control her or make her do that. And you might be saying, well, you're stretching there. Why would that ever happen? Well, it happened. It happened in the final season. Someone literally mind-controlled her and made her stab somebody. So she's been controlled. That's happened. And that was a weak member of Fairytail that controlled her. So it's happened. I don't know why Zareth or one of his wizards couldn't have used her that way. She's overpowered. Ultir, one of the characters with time magic, she can affect the time of living things, right? She can take a seed and use her power and make it grow into a tree. She can look at a tree and she can make it grow back into a seed. She can affect things. Sorry, but the rule of her magic is she can't affect living things, people, animals. Which, I know the whole tree thing is like, people are gonna say, well, plants are living things, so doesn't that count? And I guess they don't count. Rocks, specifically water, ice. Like Gray. If there's ice, she can turn it into water. She can send it to its past. She can send it to its future and make it evaporate, turn into smoke. But she can't use her magic on living things. I liked the writing of that. I liked that they wrote it that way because, it doesn't make it overpowered. She can just, any group of people in front of her, just turn them all into old people and they're dead, or just into babies and kill them. I like that they gave her magic that little rule. I wish they would have done that throughout Fairytale and just said, okay, magic can't affect the human soul or something. Like, human bodies are just kind of sacred. Like, a lot of magic can't instantly kill, But there's so many characters in Fairytale that have spells and magic that's just like, snap your finger and you could have just ended everything. There's too many characters like that. And they had really good, there's no excuse. I mean, they really had good writing there with Ultir. When they had Ultir say, my magic can't affect live, like, okay, I love that. That was some pretty complex, little writing there to make it realistic, to make it to where it's not overpowered. They could have applied that to everything, but they didn't. There's way too many characters like Brandish that just could have ended everything, could have killed everybody with certain spells. It just makes watching it like, I don't, everything could have ended so quickly. Why are you wasting time? Why are you wasting your energy? There's so many characters that use mind control and manipulation that could have just controlled somebody and made them do all these things. And those characters that have the mind control, they've killed plenty of people. So they're more than willing to do that and make them do that. But they didn't. And there's no good reason in the story as to why that is. So it loses a point for that too. That's down to 8. Um, Character villain plot holes is another subject. Just Zareth, Zareth, Acnologia. Um, there's no clear explanation specifically with Zareth as to how he became the way he did. I don't see any explanation for it. As to how he got his power, right, is because he used an ancient spell. He studied magic. He was reading books. His little brother died. Natsu, the main character. His little brother died, and so he wants to bring his brother back to life. And so he learns an ancient spell. He's literally studying books and old texts to find this spell. So it's something that someone can find through study and research. He's just a regular human boy who's just extremely smart, but he found this out, right? I'm saying all this for a reason. I'm coming back to it just very quickly. Just so he cast a spell that then cursed him. Now he's this all-powerful, immortal character. And I'm just wondering, so if that's what it took to become him, then anyone can become Zareth. Another person can just read those same books, do the same thing. You can have like 3 or 4, you can have a lot of Zareths in the world. You know, you can have a pretty good army. I mean, I don't see why that can't just be. So that's where I have another question. Okay, so is it very special? Is it only for him? Is this a one-time thing? Was this a one-time curse waiting for somebody to perform this spell, this black magic, and make somebody into a Zareth? Was this waiting for him, waiting for somebody? It's called the Curse of Anselm. Someone said that was the name of the demon, but I looked it up and I just don't see anything that says there's an actual demon. Like, did an actual demon possess him? Or did an actual demon possess him? Or is it just a curse? Is it something that's not a person or creature or entity like a demon? Is it just a curse? And it's got a name. Either, if it's a curse, okay, then there's a plot hole there because you can make a bunch of Zareths, right? Okay, if it's a demon specifically, we don't see him, we don't hear about him. Is he controlling Zareth? Is that why Zareth has this split personality, where he's like, I don't want to hurt anybody. That's why he goes and hides in the forest a lot. Or he comes, and then eventually he's like, you know what? Yeah, I want to wipe everybody out. I want to reset the world. And that'll make everything better. Like, is that the demon in him doing that, manipulating him that way, or not? It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. There's no clear answer to that. And if it is this demon, is he losing with Zareth in his mental battle? If he's not losing with Zareth in his mental battle, I mean, it seems pretty clear in the final season he wants to kill everybody. He's very powerful too, and a lot of times in the final season, Zareth is just standing around. He's just standing around. He's not doing anything. And he says he wants to kill everybody. He should jump in there with his army and wipe out the Fairytail Guild. But he doesn't. He should jump in there with the 12. He's just standing around most of the final season. He's not doing anything. After his fight with Natsu, he doesn't do anything. He doesn't jump into battle. He doesn't get in there, and he could wipe everybody out. And he doesn't. But he has this evil look on his face constantly, and he's just like willing to, like kill anyone that gets in his way. He talks about annihilating them, and then he doesn't do it. And then we get, the fact that he's found a way to go back in time and reset everything. Again, it's still wiping out everybody in existence and saying, let's just redo everything and go back in time and make it to where Acnologia is no longer here. Okay, so that's enough about Zareth. There's just too much wrong there. On to Acnologia. Acnologia's, the plot holes with him, apart from the strength inconsistency when fighting the Dragon Slayers, which is, stupid. When it comes to Acnologia and Zareth, Zareth says he doesn't want to fight Acnologia. He says, he told Mavis, like, I want to go back in time and reset everything. She's like, why? He's like, because I should never have helped Acnologia become immortal. Because he says, if we don't stop him, he's going to destroy the world, everyone in it. And me and you are immortal, and so is he, and it's just going to be the three of us, and we're just going to be his playthings for eternity. And I heard that, and it made me cringe because I was like, he doesn't come off that way. He doesn't even talk that way. Or he's run into Zareth before. He's run into him, and they didn't. It didn't seem like he was crazy to attack Zareth or kill him. He literally walked up to him in his cave, and he talked to him, and he left Acnologia alone. He even walked away from him. Like, it doesn't seem like, yeah, I want to make you my plaything. I want to kill you over and over again, or just hurt you over and over again for all eternity. I just want to make the earth filled with us three. Acnologia seems to be isolated most of the show. He doesn't ever appear unless, I guess, there's like a strong concentrated amount of magic power to where he thinks there's a rival. So he just wants to fight. So, I mean, is that the argument in the writing? That Acnologia likes that? So that's why he would constantly be pestering Zera for eternity, as it's just them on the earth? Because he wants to constantly be Well, then why doesn't he find Zeref all the time and do that? Zeref is around. Why doesn't Acnologia always constantly just show up and fight him? Why doesn't he just get... It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense that that's what Zeref is scared of, that that's what Zeref wants to avoid with Acnologia. Acnologia doesn't come off that way. Yes, he comes off a little insane at times. Yes, he comes off as, yeah, I'm going to burn the whole world. He does say that. Um, then why doesn't he? Why doesn't he? The entire anime, he's hiding. He's just hiding. He goes away. He comes over to do something, to beat somebody, to blow up an island, and then he goes away and he doesn't show up anymore. And I just don't see consistency there. I just see poor writing there with his goals, his character, in the story, and Zeref's. Those are the main two villains. That's all I'm going to... I mean, those are the main villains, right? Those are the villains we're waiting for. Those are the villains we were excited for, that we were thinking about the entire time. It was all mysterious, and we were getting hints about. And so we finally get to see them, and that's how they're written. You know, um, that's just... It doesn't make any sense. Mavis isn't a villain, obviously, but it's the same kind of writing with her, with Zeref. She basically became a Zeref. You kind of like my point, right? Like, hey, can you make multiple Zerefs? Well, it seems like you can, because Mavis did performed a spell like he did, and Zeref told her, "You're basically me now. You're immortal. You can't die. Even if you cut off your own head, you won't die." Okay, so Mavis is basically another Zeref. Well, why is she a weaker version? Why is she a version that can't do all these amazing things that he can do? I mean, she's been alive for a while. How come she hasn't been able to, learn crazy spells like he has? She knows the importance of what's going on in the situation, but she doesn't want to apparently, you know, learn any of these things and, become powerful like him. It You would think Fairytale has their own Zeref. They have Mavis. They have her with them. Why can't she just be their Zeref and be powerful like that? No, apparently not. Why? Well, because she's on the good guys team. So apparently she just has to have the immortality part. She can't actually have crazy power part. I'm gonna give some leeway there and say, well, she was in a crystal. Her physical body was in a crystal most of the time. I guess her spirit being around couldn't really go and learn spells. I mean, her mind is still intact that way. She could still learn spells and magic, and wouldn't that apply to her physical body? Either way, that kind of proves that you can create another Zeref. She performed a spell like he did to bring someone back in her story in that arc, and it made her into another Zeref, basically. So you can create a bunch of Zerefs. That makes Zeref not very unique. That kind of doesn't make him that special anymore. And to me, that's poor writing. And that's so I called this villain plot holes, but there's plot holes with a lot of characters when it comes to explaining how they got the way they are, how they have these powers. Um, the three grand fairy spells, they're not explained either. Fairy glitter, fairy heart. Is it fairy heart or fairy spear? The big circle, whatever. The spear they make out of friendship, the shield that can't be broken by anything apparently. And then there's fairy law. That one too. Like, okay, are these incredibly powerful things she created because she's like a Zeref? Did she create these things after? I mean, I don't think so. Zeref taught her law before it was called fairy law, I think. She performed law to become like Zeref. So law was already a spell that was around. She didn't create it. So did she just make it stronger? She made it the guild spell? Because Fairytale takes credit like that's been their spell forever. But Mavis performed it even though it was around before Fairytale was a thing. It it's poor writing. It's poor writing. Okay, there's no explanation for these things. It's just thrown there to progress the story and say this is how this character is going to be beat. Actilogia's physical body is going to be trapped in this force field, and they're going to beat his spirit in a time capsule thing. It's bad. Like I said, there were some key concepts here that excited me in Fairytale when it came to the dragon. When the first season, when I was watching the first season, I was excited. I was excited. The Dragon Slayer concept. Oh, dragons aren't around anymore. They're said to be the strongest creatures around. The main character claims to be raised by one of these, and so eventually he'll get that power. Like, I thought, okay, that's really cool. You're getting me excited. Okay, there's this dark wizard, Zeref. He's got some connection to the main character. They hint at that. Oh, that's really cool. He's the most powerful wizard around. Oh, I love that when they have a main character and they're setting up all these connections to show why he's so great, why he's got this hidden greatness. Like, I love that. And they were getting you excited for that, right? And you're like, where's his father? They're showing us his father, the dragon. Where is he? You know, Actilogia, the Fairytale Guild had secrets. All this excitement. They had these great elements that they were setting up. You know, now it's time to connect them all. Okay, how are you going to connect them all? Terrible connections. Terrible connections. No good explanations for how they connect them at all. They don't explain them well at all. They don't, you know, the dragon parents that raise their adopted human children living inside of them. They finally come out of them, and they fight in season 8, my favorite season hands down. But then they disappear, and they say, "Oh yeah, we can't stay because years ago Acnologia ripped our spirits from our bodies, and so because of that, we're technically dead. But we could come out of you in a physical form and do some physical damage to the earth. Like we could come out and wreck some things. But now we're gonna die. Now we're gonna go up to dragon heaven, I guess, and disappear completely. We only had like a few hours. I don't, you know, we've only been able to stay inside. Like once we release ourselves from your body, you weak humans, we're powerful dragons. For some reason, that's how it works. Now we're gonna perish. Like that doesn't make any sense. The first time I watched it and I heard that Acnologia used his magic to rip our spirits from our body, I think I rolled my eyes and I said, you know, that's just a way to get rid of these dragons because they're too powerful to keep in the story. It Yeah, in the final season of Fairytale, when they're fighting Zeref's top 12 wizards, the Spriggan 12, if they had those dragons around, it would have been over. It would have been over. I mean, Acnologia was beaten by like 5 dragon slayers that weren't even full strength dragons. Of course they would have killed Acnologia. But no, they can't have that, apparently. So Acnologia had to rip their spirits. I don't know why Acnologia didn't just use that same spell to rip the spirits out of Natsu and the others. I mean, man, he's got this spirit ripping spell apparently that they never explain. Why doesn't he whip that out there when he's about to die? I I don't know. It's bad. Story gets a 6. Story gets a 6 out of 10, between 5 and 10. If you see my scoring system, you know how it works. It gets a 6. The lowest score I give Story is a 5. Fairytale gets a 6. Most of this video was just talking about the story. I know it's already been like a while, 40 minutes. Yeah, just talking about the story. I'm going to breeze through the rest very quickly. Very quickly. I already knew that this video was going to be mostly about the story of Fairytale. Because yeah, that's where the most problems are. That's where the most critiques are. It's a long anime. There's a lot to dive into. This is just a basis to start discussion, to hear what your thoughts are. But yeah, just story is gonna take up most of this. I promise. I'm just gonna breeze through the rest of them and tell you what I gave them. And if you have any questions about like diving deeper into them, you can ask me in the comments. But yeah, let's just go to the next one. Characters. Character category. What did I give it? I gave it a 10. I gave it a 10. I gave it a perfect score. I'm just going to be honest about that. The character writing is just, to me, it was great. To me, it was perfect because I don't see it. There wasn't any characters. There wasn't like an overwhelming number of characters that were written that were just bland or bleak, cliche. I've seen people complain saying like, yeah, it's full of cliche characters. And when I hear that and I kind of ask, what do you mean? And it's like, oh, well, look at this character and look at that character. They look like this character from One Piece and they look like this other character. I'm like, okay, that's animation. That's how they look. What about how they're written, personality wise? Like how they're written. And you know, this one's a leader, this one's not a leader, this one's ferocious, this one's more calm, this one's a sweetheart, this one's you know, crazy, this one's this, and you know how they're written, and the vast array. Is there a vast array of characters? Like, oh well, yeah, there is. Yeah, there's definitely in Fairy Tail. There's somebody you can relate to in Fairy Tail. There's a character for everybody who watches Fairy Tail. You'll find somebody to relate to. I love it. I love the family aspect of it. I love the group dynamic. Gray and Natsu, you got the bickering brother types. You got Urza's like the older sister type, the leader, you know, who intimidates them. You've got her as a leader type. She's, you know, they say surprisingly girly for how tough she is and how scary she is. You've got Lucy and her own, the way she's written, and she's so different from all the girls are different. You know, it's not this same bland. All the girls are the same. All the guys are the same. No, they're so different. They're written differently, and I love them. It's just nothing to complain about there. It's a 10. Not a lot of characters that are written bland or boring that I can think of that no points deducted. It's 10 for me. Voice acting, okay. When I judge voice acting in an anime, um, I know there's English dub and I know there's Japanese. Obviously, you know, I'm just going to make this clear. I'm like those people. Yes, the Japanese is the original Japanese is infinitely better most of the time. There are some animes that are rare gems where the English dub is actually good, if not just as good, if not better than the Japanese. Like there are some rare gems, and in this case with Fairy Tail, I would say the English dub better than um, is better than the Japanese. I would, yeah, I would. Well, you know, I'd say just this. I'd say just the same. Sorry, I'm probably thinking of another anime. I would say just the same. Um, it makes me want to tell you a story about myself regarding watching my first getting involved with anime, but I'm gonna save that for another video. I'm actually gonna make a video about sub versus dub in anime, and I'll explain it then and I'll go through it. But voice acting, I give it a 10. I give it a 10. I think every voice, and I'm judging it based on the English dub. When I judge an anime, regardless of what I think of the English or Japanese, um, I'm going to judge it based on whichever version I felt like was best, whatever I watched. You know, so don't worry, I'm gonna judge the one that was best. And so for this one, I feel like the English was amazing. I could watch it in English the entire time, and the voices were wonderful. Their tone, how loud they were, how quiet they were, the emotion behind it. Nothing to complain about in voice acting. No points deducted. No reason to talk further on it. 10 points. You know, voice acting was great. Animation has a 3. I took 2 points off animation. Two reasons. One, reuse animation reused animation over and over. What I mean by that with reuse animation is just there are so many parts of Fairy Tail. Watching it, there are so many parts where they replay the same thing over and over again. I understand if they're doing flashbacks. They would do extremely long flashbacks where it's obvious you're just reusing clips to save time and money. And it was crazy how many times they would do that. Watching season 8 is my favorite season of Fairy Tail. It's extreme. It's extremely. It's long. It's very long. It's a very long season. Ton of good content. Ton of good fights. But there's a. It's crazy. I thought. I thought I had accidentally skipped episodes, or I thought I had gone back a couple episodes watching season 8. It confused me. Maybe it's just me, but watching season 8 of Fairy Tail near the end was super confusing. They replayed clips of the same fight over and over, and I'm not just saying little scenes here and there. No, like whole minute, 30-second here, another minute here. The fight with Urza and forgot her name. Kagura? No, it wasn't Kagura. That's a good character. It was a demon. One of the demons Zeref's demons, the one that was bird-like that Urza fought. That was like Urza's final boss fight in season 8. And that fight that Urza had, I after you watch season 8, it's like you watch that fight like it makes you watch that fight like 3 or 4 times over. You will literally see Urza do the same thing over and over and over again. No, you're not accidentally clicking the same episode. No, you're not accidentally watching it over again. No, you're watching the next episode at a time, and they're literally making you rewatch the same things over and over. I understand they're trying to do the whole there's a bunch of battles going on at the same time, and they're trying to give you the feeling of everything's happening at the same time. They can still get away with that without having to repeat certain fights over and over again. Not only Urza's fight, many others, they repeated over and over and over again, just reusing the same footage and the same music. It was annoying. It was annoying and confusing. Um, that was season 8. That was the worst. And throughout Fairytale, they constantly did that. So a point off for that. Another point off for still frames constantly. Fairytale did this a lot. A lot of animes do this. I hate it. If it happens once or twice, I don't care. But if an anime does this constantly, to where it's constant, I'll take off a point for it. And I took off a point for it here with Fairytale. What I mean by constant still frames is just they'll have the screen. You're watching an anime, and they'll show a character's face, and they'll just like it's frozen. Like the trees in the background aren't moving. There's no birds that are gonna fly by because they're just using a still frame. There's no animation, like nothing's moving, right? It's just perfectly frozen, and they're just showing that character's face. And why? Well, because the character is probably listening to another character, and you're just getting audio. You're just hearing the audio. Some character is talking to that character. Hey, listen to me. I want to tell you something. And they tell them like 2 paragraphs, but the screen is just locked on their face, and it's a frozen image of their face. You don't see any adjusting of their mouth. They're not blinking. Like it's just a frozen image, and you're just getting the audio. It's just them being cheap, and it's annoying. And it's like, especially when you're near the end of a season, and you know, like, okay, we're near the end of a good season with already having a ton of cliffhangers at the end of every episode. You're already getting us excited. You're already slowing down episodes because we're waiting for a big fight or something. And then to top it off, you do that cheap little move to save your little animation time over and over and over again. They would constantly do that. They would show Lucy, they would show Natsu, they would show Gray, they would show every character with just a paused image of their face and just audio, just to save time on animation and production wise. So I take off a point for that because they did it consistently, constantly throughout the anime. So animation is down to a 3, from a 5 to a 3. Music, I give music a 5. Like I said, story took up way too much of this video. I wish I could talk more about Fairy Tail's music. It gets a perfect score. It gets a 5. I'm not taking anything off of story. Story is just music slash audio. Like it's great. It's wonderful. I think Fairy Tail has, in my opinion, from all the anime I've seen, I think Fairy Tail has my favorite anime music of all time. I haven't watched another anime that I've said, you know what, I like that music more than Fairy Tail. No, Fairy Tail's theme music, each character's individual theme is really good. It's very rare that a Fairy Tail character has a theme song that isn't cool, isn't upbeat, isn't, even if it's not upbeat, does it match the character. There's only one that I don't like, and it's Loxus. Loxus has a very boring theme song, and it's like, it's fine if it matches the character, if it's going to be monotone, slower pace, but it doesn't match him at all. It really doesn't. He doesn't need a theme like that. They finally gave him an upbeat theme song in the final season, but they should have done that, earlier. But other than that, there's so many more characters in Fairy Tail. Natsu's theme music is played constantly, and it works. Even when they play it for a character that's not Natsu, they play his theme music during other parts of Fairy Tail, and it works great. And my favorite one is Urza. Urza's theme music, I can work out to that music. If you haven't heard it, just listen to Urza Scarlet's, just her theme. It's incredible. I love it. Music is perfect. Like, there's nothing to take off of music. Genre starts at a 5. like the bottom three topics, genre has 4. I just took off 1 point. Why? I feel like it's very funny. It has a lot of comedy, but the thing is, it does struggle with two genres. That's comedy and drama. Trying to be taken seriously, trying to be dramatic, and Fairy Tale does that a lot. Um, but its comedy kind of drowns it out, and there's a lot of comedic moments that happen at serious moments to where it's like I can't take you seriously. Um, it's got, in my opinion, it's my opinion, right? It's got too much comedy. It's got way too much comedy. It gets way too silly at times. I can't take it seriously. It drowns out the seriousness of it. The drama, the peril. You know everyone's gonna live. You know everyone's gonna be fine. It's got that hardness to it, to where you know there's going to be hardly any deaths in this anime. You know they're going to make some cop out, especially with all the bad writing in the story so far. You know they're going to be that way, and the comedy kind of reaffirms that genre. I feel like the comedy, it has great comedy. It's funny. I actually like it, right? But it doesn't blend so well with the drama. It does affect it in some negative ways throughout the seasons, throughout the story. So I took off 1 point for that. So its genre is at a 4. Um, so that's all of it. So that's all of it. Just to mention story real quick. Just to mention story. I'm going to cap an hour here. Just to mention story briefly. When it comes to story, I just want to say, like, story starts at a 10, and I dropped it down to 6. The lowest I give is a 5. The only reason I'm not taking off that last point is because Fairy Tail has amazing stories with individual characters. Urza being a slave in that Tower of Heaven. Gray. Oh, Gray is my favorite character story. I think hands down, Gray's story is my favorite. It's the best story there is in Fairy Tail. With his master saving him and sacrificing herself, and the story of him losing his parents in the village, and him training with her, and then his father jumping into everything, and his involvement in season 8. It was incredible. Like, and there's so many more stories. Like Lucy's story is very emotional, very, very fun. Well, not depressing. It's sad, and it's just very good. It's a very good story for Lucy. So many characters have good stories like that. They show so many emotional background stories. Animes do that all the time, and it's just a very quick thing. Like, oh, here's the backstory, and it's very sad, emotional. Okay, here it is, and then you're just kind of out of it. With Fairy Tail, they dive pretty deep into a lot of characters, and it's because of that. That's like the only reason I'm not taking off that last point, is because that's where Fairy Tail succeeds, is these amazing characters and their story, their individual stories, and that's pretty much it. But the overall story, the main story about the main character and the main villain and trying to connect all those points, it does poorly. And so it goes down to it. I just wanted to mention that briefly. I had to praise the individual character stories, like not like Urza, Gray, Lucy, and a few others. But that brings it down to a total of 38 points. And so, these are the categories, these are the scores they each get. Uh, Story, characters, acting, voice acting for an anime, 5 to 10. And then when it comes to the bottom 3, it's 1 to 5. Because I value story, characters, and acting more, I give them a potential to get more points. That was explained in my scoring video. Sorry that one was so long, just like this one's so long. But yeah, total here is going to be, for Fairy Tail, 38 points. So yeah, 38 points for Fairy Tail. And in my title category, you have here terrible, bad, decent, good, amazing. Fairy Tail got a 38, so it lands right there. So Fairy Tail is a good anime. It's not terrible, it's not bad, it's not decent, it's not amazing, it's good. Fairy Tail is a good anime. And that's the title it gets. Okay, I've wasted enough of your time. Thank you so much for watching. This is my first one. I know I was kind of all over the place. I'm going to structure these a little bit better. Try to make them shorter. Try to get through these faster, or I don't know. I like the longer format videos. These are for people who are in it for the long haul, who want to have the deeper discussions about story and everything in anime and movies. Gonna do movie reviews too. So that's Fairy Tail, 38 points. Major problems with the story, but it came through and saved itself in the scoreboard with all the other topics. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you agree with the scoring system. Let me know if you would do it differently, if you think it's weird, if you would create your own, what you would do. Let me know how you would have scored Fairytale according to this system. Let me know if you would have given Fairytale a higher score or a lower score. If you disagree with me, if you agree with me, I'd love to discuss it all. Let me know in the comments. Hit the notification bell, subscribe. I plan on doing many more anime, movie reviews, Hollywood news podcasts, and some more fun videos in the future. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.